Hello, my friends. The question today is, how do we actually hit the FDA dietary recommendations for carbohydrates? What does it actually look like when we are talking about food? I'm going to show you how I hit my daily carbohydrate recommendations by plugging everything into the dietary tracking app, MyFitnessPal. I'm going to put it all on the screen for you so that you can see what the numbers and the grams actually look like when it comes to food. You ready? Let's dive in. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, if you are watching on YouTube versus listening to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, go ahead and do so. That way you won't miss out on any future podcast episodes. Now, while I'm getting my MyFitnessPal set up, or my recording here set up, if you missed the episode where I talked about how to determine the dietary carbohydrate recommendations, I will put the link here or above here so that you can go back. So I would definitely watch or listen to that one first so that you can understand what the dietary recommendations are, so that this episode makes sense when it comes to actually putting food to the amount of grams that are recommended per day. So here we go. Start recording. And we are into MyFitnessPal. If you'll recall, and it's going to have me log back in because it does this from time to time. Love that. For daily dietary carbohydrate recommendations, the typical recommendation when it comes to the AMDR, it's a range of macronutrients. Or it's a range of the grams for each macronutrient. So for carbohydrates, the recommended range is 45 to 65% of your total daily intake. In that last episode, we looked at having 25% of daily calories coming from protein, 25% from fats, and then the additional or remaining 50% coming from carbohydrates. And this will include fiber. We'll get to that in a future episode. So 50% of 2,000 calories a day, which is roughly what I take in and what many of you do as well, would be 1,000 calories, and 1,000 divided by 4 calories per gram, because that's what carbohydrates are. 1 gram of carbs is worth 4 calories. That is equal to 250 grams of carbs per day. Now there's a little wiggle room in there between fluctuating your carbohydrates and your fat intake. I'm going to aim, and what I do personally is somewhere between 200 and 250 grams per day. Maybe on days that I'm heavily working out, strength and conditioning, I'm eating closer to 250. On a normal light day that I'm not working out, I'm going to aim for about 200 grams of carbs. So today I'm going to share with you what it looks like to input a little over 200 grams of carbs into MyFitnessPal. I've got it up here. We are going to hit the diary button, and under breakfast, I'm just going to roughly go through what I had yesterday. I do not track every day. I don't think you have to track every day. It's a wonderful tool, and if you have a specific weight loss, fat loss, muscle gain goal in mind, then it's absolutely a game changer when you use it appropriately. So, breakfast. I had a crepe that was stuffed full of fruit. This is not going to be 100% perfect or accurate. I did not weigh everything out. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just searching and going to kind of choose the best option that looks reasonable. Plain crepe. We're going to say it's this one. It's got, 1 serving, 115 calories. The one I had was quite large, so even though this one says 15 grams of carbs, the one I had was probably more. So I'm going to change the serving size to 2. And that should give me about 30 grams of carbs, 11 grams of fat, 11 grams of protein. Again, disclaimer here, I'm only talking about carbs and hitting the carb goal, not all 3 major macronutrients. So while there will be some fats and some proteins that come along with the carbs that I track, I'm only showing you how to hit those carb goals today. Hitting the check mark on that. Now, there's probably about 2 cups worth of fruit. So I'm just going to type in fresh fruit, see what pops up. Let's see, I'm not doing for net carbs here. Fresh fruit. Let's go mixed fresh fruit, HEB. And this says half a cup, 1 serving. So we're going to change that to 4 servings, since it was about 2 cups that I had, which gives me about 44 grams of carbs. Hit the check mark. We're doing really well so far. And we're gonna back out of breakfast, go on to brunch. Y'all, I love a good coffee shop coffee, so my go-to, if I feel like I have the room for it, is a caramel macchiato. So we'll do a tall caramel macchiato, about 34 grams of carbs there, 12 ounce, hit that check mark. And then again, typically if I'm eating a meal from a place like Starbucks, I'm aiming for a breakfast sandwich that has some protein and some fiber in it. So I like to get the spinach feta egg white wrap. So spinach, feta, egg white wrap, search. There we go. We see Starbucks there. Hit the check mark. And just out of curiosity, we're going to scroll down to the bottom of this, back out of brunch, scroll down to the bottom, hit nutrition. Let's just see where we're at. So far, we are at 132 grams of carbs, and we've only had breakfast and a kind of brunch snack. So we still have, and it depends on the day and the person, but I still have a snack and then dinner left over. But sometimes it looks different. Again, that's okay. For afternoon eats, I'm just going to put a protein bar in there. One of the current favorites that I like is the Bear Bells brand. You can find those at Trader Joe's. All right, cookies and cream, 20 grams of carbs, 20 grams of protein. Boom. Back out of afternoon eats, scroll down, hit nutrition. Now we're at 152. Remember, we're working to get towards 200 to 250, somewhere in there. For dinner, my husband made a homemade baked potato soup. I don't have the recipe. He didn't use a recipe. So again, we are going to estimate here. So I'm going to type in homemade chicken, bacon, baked potato soup. And we are going to see what happens with that. Baked potato with bacon soup, 1 cup giant. When I'm looking for an option that I'm choosing one that's the best option available, I do just want to make sure that if it has calories, it also shows macronutrients, so proteins, carbs, and fats. So just make sure if you're choosing an option that is just the best option available, then that's what we need to do there. 29 grams of carbs. Truthfully, I had multiple cups, so I'm going to put 2 cups there. And I'm going to back out, and let's see where that puts us. That puts us at 210. I did have one more thing. I made a baked pear dessert. So I am going to input that under dessert. And so I'll put pear. MyFitnessPal is not going to care if that pear was baked or not. And I had a whole pear because I had 2 halves. So 1 cup, pear small. That's fine. Another 21-ish grams of carbs. And then I had a few pomegranate seeds and a few pecans. So there were probably a couple more grams of carbs in there. But for today's purposes, since we're not being super exact, we can see that we have reached at this point 231 grams of carbs, 20 grams of fiber. And again, the fats and the protein are not accurate because I did eat other things throughout the day that had more protein in them. And again, I didn't have exact recipes in there. So that is how you would go about ensuring that you can hit your carbohydrate goal. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Danye Phillips, or shoot me an email, info@DannyPhillips.com. I hope this was fun and helpful. We've talked about protein and how to reach those goals in MyFitnessPal. Now we've talked about carbs. Next video, we will be talking about how to reach that dietary fat recommendation. So can't wait to see you there. Subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Bye for now.